Okay, welcome back everyone to Bad Wolf Reptile Sanctuary. Today I'm going to be doing a video about certain health problems that can arise in bearded dragons. One of the main topics I was asked to cover is stunted growth. And so I'm going to go over a bunch of topics that have to do with that. And Handles is going to be here to demonstrate how I look for certain things. So, why is my beardy stunted? The topics I'm going to cover, and I have my list this time so that I don't get all sidetracked. First thing for stunted, or a dragon that doesn't seem to be growing, doesn't seem to be thriving. First one is going to be improper lighting, husbandry or enclosure, heat, things like that. Second is going to be improper feeding, not feeding enough, not offering the right things, things like that. Then we're going to cover MBD, metabolic bone disease. This is a big one for beardies, and we will get into that. Then we are going to cover failure to thrive, stress. Sorry, I wrote these down in the wrong order. Adenovirus, or also known as wasting disease. And last we will cover dwarf beardies. Then also in this video I'm going to cover yellow fungus. That's been asked to have some information on that, and so I thought I'd get that out to you as well in this video. Okay, so first is your setup. It is recommended a 40-gallon or larger for adult beardies. Now, I only use a 40-gallon as my quarantine tank, or as a tank to set them up in an environment in our house where maybe a larger enclosure isn't quite suitable. Your basking area. Basking area, their heat should be from 100 to about 110. I stay around 101, 102. I don't like to go too much higher than that unless the beardy seems to be going into brumation, which I covered in my last video. Lighting. Your UVB should be a T10. Good rule of thumb is that it covers about half the enclosure, but you want to have the right amount of UVB light. These guys spend a lot of time in the sun. The sun is 15 minutes in the sun is equal to 3 hours of UVB light. So they really need a lot of that exposure. And then husbandry. You're going to want a large hide for them, somewhere they can kind of tuck away if they want to. Of course, your basking area. And then I do recommend putting down a softer area, maybe sand on half of the enclosure. These guys are prone to arthritis, and so having somewhere where it's a little bit softer that they can relax and take that weight off of their legs from basking. And then floor space. They need a lot of floor space. If they want to get around, they need to be able to get around. And then your cleanliness. These are all things that can affect the health of your beardy. If these things aren't kept right, your UVB is going to lead to MBD. If it's not clean, it leads to yellow fungus or other diseases like that. What else? I think we can go on to the next topic. Feeding. So for juveniles, that's about 4 months to 12 months. They need 3 feedings a day of at least 10 bugs. That means dubias, crickets if you're using crickets. I prefer dubias. They're healthier for your beardy, and they're a lot easier to keep. Crickets stink. I don't like the stink. Um, One of these feedings every day should be dusted in calcium plus D3 powder. You can get separate calcium and D3, but, sorry, handles. The D3 on its own is highly concentrated, and so you don't want to give that as often. That's like a once, twice a month thing, where if you do the calcium plus D3, you don't have to worry about that because it's a minuscule amount, but just enough that each day they can have it and it will help them. And from this time, from 4 to 12 months, bugs should be somewhere between 70 to 80% of their diet. Greens should always be offered. They say your young ones aren't going to need that, but if you want them to eat their greens when they get older, they need to always have those greens offered. One of the babies we had that we had taken in a long time ago, I would do cucumber and I would shred it, just because he's so tiny he can't eat the big pieces of lettuce, and I would shred that, and that would give him his water intake plus get him used to greens. Now I didn't do that every day as that has too much water, but that got him really introduced to it, plus it was kind of sweet, so he liked it. I think it's really important to always be giving your bearded dragon greens from the time you bring them home. Now that goes on to a touchy subject. Should water be offered? Now, many of the people that I follow and I learn from, they say every animal should be offered water. They should always have that resource available to them. Bearded dragons do get 90% of their water intake from their diet. If they become too hydrated, that can mess with their stools. They'll be really greasy and slimy. It's just not healthy for them to be overly hydrated. So water, should it be offered? I do not, as I have found that my bearded dragons will overdrink, but a weekly soak will actually help that adjustment if they're not eating their greens. The greens really help with their water intake. So for this, feeding. If they aren't fed properly, if they aren't getting enough food, if they aren't getting the correct food, that can lead to stunted beardies. Let's see. Okay, so the next is metabolic bone disease, MBD. This is huge. It is mostly caused by improper lighting and improper supplements like your calcium D3. They don't ever let a vet tell you not to give them their calcium. They always need it. They are always shedding and growing a little bit, even if they're adults and they're not growing. They still have those issues within their skin that they need that for, and other things. It does help them absorb the UVB light a lot better. And with the UVB and the calcium, they actually kind of interact together to help the beardie with their bones, because they aren't getting the sunlight, the proper UVB light that they would need. So they do always need that calcium D3. What does MBD look like? Now, Handles does not have it, but as you can see, she's got the proper length of limbs. Her tail is the right length, and her spine is the right length. In MBD, you're going to find that limbs are too short. They look round the body because their spine's not growing completely. The tail will actually be stunted, excuse me, and a lot of times they'll actually end up with tail rot, or is that the right word? Tail rot. And that is where part of their tail dies and breaks off. I recently had a beardie with very bad MBD, and he was losing his tail. He was really in bad shape, and I don't know if we really were able to bring him back from that. We ended up handing him over to someone who could do a little bit better work with him. I do know my MBD, but his was so severe that it was really hard for us to handle with all our other animals. So we made sure that he got off to the proper care, the proper vets, and everything like that. But those are your causes and what it looks like. If you're keeping up your proper UVBs, your calciums and stuff, you should not run into this issue of MBD. But always keep a check on your limbs, that they're not too short, that they look normal like hers. She's got claws right now, I still need to clip them. She hasn't wanted to come out of brumation. Let's see. Oh, yes, and they will also have limited use of their limbs. Our guy, he kind of looked like he was swimming all the time, and he couldn't quite get up to places. He couldn't get up to his basking area well. Things needed to be really made specific for him. And so we just made sure that he got the proper care, as we had way too many beardies at the time. We were at 5 at that time, and it was a lot of work. Okay, next is failure to thrive. This is when you don't hear about a lot, but it does happen. We don't know why. This even happens with human infants. Some just, they don't thrive. There's something there that just causes them not to grow. They don't eat as much. Let's see. You should know if your beardie has failure to thrive by about 6 months. They're not shedding, they're not growing. Sorry, handles, you're okay. They're not eating as much, and they will stay very, very small, and they will most likely pass away. This is where you run into a lot of issues in pet stores. I find a lot of the big box chain stores, they end up with a lot of the failure to thrives because they're kind of the last of the litter that gets thrown out there to those big box stores, and they're typically the ones that aren't the healthiest. So that's why we definitely recommend breeders for this huge reason of failure to thrive. Okay, the next is stress. Your beardie can get stressed, and then they won't eat, they won't grow, they struggle a lot with some of the same things as NBD. But stressors can be simple things. You might not have this right size of tank, you might not have the heat right. I would just check all of your husbandry if you think your beardie is stressed. Let's see. What can cause that? Okay, unclean environment can cause stress. High traffic environments might cause stress. One thing that Handles has is she is afraid of small children. I'm saying 8 and younger, I'd probably say. We don't know what, but I'm assuming she probably had a high stress incident with a small child. Just kind of like your small dogs will be afraid of the little children. Something must have happened, I'm guessing, and that caused her to be a little more cautious of small children. But yeah, that's about it for stress. Oh, other signs of stress is blackbeard. If they are blackbeard a lot, that is a huge sign of stress. And again, this is just, can be simple changes, like her. She's stressing out a little bit. Let's see her. I'll put you up here for a minute. Okay, now this next one is a big one, and one that I actually just recently learned about. So if any of my information is incorrect, feel free to correct me and teach me more. Adenovirus, commonly known as wasting disease. Most bearded dragons hatch already infected with this virus from their mother, or they catch it at a very young age from being housed with other young beardies that have this. I have so many notes on this one. Okay. So, what are the signs? Don't go too far, sweetheart. Rapid weight loss, regurgitation, lethargia. A big one is, I need you for this one, sweetheart. She's gonna be crazy on me. Come here, I gotta show them this one. So one of the biggest signs is stargazing. And I don't mean like when your beardie stretches up and basks, they're taking in all that heat. But I mean like real stargazing. They're looking straight up. See how she's not even gonna do that. That's a huge sign, and also twitching, especially in the toes. If you notice these things, I highly recommend getting into your vet as soon as possible. It is highly contagious, so if you have a bearded dragon with this virus, you do not want to house them anywhere else with other reptiles. You want them alone, or you want them to be your only reptile. Now, what does it cause? It causes inflammation of the digestive system, the liver, kidneys, nervous tissue, and it also suppresses the immune system. From what I am learning about this, it is terrible, and you really don't want your beardie to have this. If they have adenovirus, they have it for life. There is no cure for it. There's no real treatment for it besides what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry, I do this all the time. Just treating what you can, basically handling the virus rather than treating the virus. So if you notice maybe the kidneys are shutting down, which of course your vet would need to tell you, but signs of that would just be, like I said, lethargia, stargazing, things like that. Where'd I go with this? Where was I going with that? Yeah, take them to your vet immediately if you notice any of these signs. They can test for it, and then all they can do is really treat the problems as they occur. And again, your beardie will live with this for the rest of their life. If you are able to manage it with your vet, you can have a beardie that lives a fairly normal life. They will have flares, which will be seen in their joints. They'll get puffy and swollen. And one thing to do, so you always know whether your beardie's swollen or not, is take a good amount of time to check out your beardie, know what they look like, know everything about them, so that when these problems do arise, you can immediately get them treated. Adenovirus is also usually happens between hatchlings and 10 months. And sadly, because they're so young and they can't fight, and their systems are just going to shut down so much sooner. Adult bearded dragons can contract it. Typically, because they're adult, like if she's 3, if she caught it, there probably wouldn't be a lot of problems, at least not that we notice at first. Let's see. But they can contract it, which is another reason why you just if it's in the house, you've just got to probably have it be your only reptile, because it can pass along to your snakes, your all your others. We have a CFC that it could pass to, your iguanas, your anything like that. It can pass to them. It is seen mostly in bearded dragons, but it is a virus that can be caught. It also, oh no, that's a different one. I was about to tell you about yellow fungus. We're not there yet. Okay, so your last thing is, oh, yes, always buy from a breeder. Your pet stores are where you're going to find adenovirus the most. Your reputable breeders, they will not have bred a female that already has this that passes it along to her hatchlings. They will know. They will have been tested. It is a simple test done at your vet. I couldn't tell you how much it costs, but I know it's just a quick swab or fecal sample of some sort that they test it for, and they can tell you whether or not your bearded dragon has this. They say if you get your bearded dragon from a pet store of any kind, you should immediately go get them tested, just in case. Yeah, I think that's about my knowledge on this. If you have more knowledge on this, please let me know, because it is definitely pretty new to me. Now your next one is dwarf or pygmy bearded dragons. These are native to Australia, just like your bearded dragons are. They're just smaller beardies. They're about 20 centimeters in length. I've been, again, this is just from what I have heard, and I don't know the statistics on this yet, but dwarf bearded dragons are being bred with normal beardies, causing a medium beardy. So it might look like your bearded dragon is stunted when they might have been bred who knows how far down the line or how soon in the line, but there could be a pygmy or dwarf bearded dragon in there. Now, I don't breed, so I don't know the actual statistics on this and how often they're being bred. So I wouldn't go with your dwarf or pygmy as your first idea of stunted. I'd definitely go to your other 6 problems before coming to dwarf or pygmy. Again, I think you can do a genetic test on this, just like with your dogs or anything like that, and they can tell you what your bearded dragon has. I actually think it might be more of a scale sample, but yeah, you can get that tested if you need to know what genes your bearded dragon has. Like her, we know most of her genes. She is a leatherback, 1/8 Dunnar, with something else. But it doesn't actually tell me where she got this beautiful red color from. Anywhere in there.
1/8 Barbass.
Oh, Barbass. Sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. Okay, so we have covered all of those. Those are your main signs or main concerns if you have a bearded dragon that looks like they are not growing properly. You're going to want to check husbandry, tank, lighting. I'd go for all of those things first before you jump to the worst case scenario. Hi, sweetie. So now I am going to just do a little bit on yellow fungus. Yellow fungus doesn't have a ton to really explain, but yellow fungus, what is it? A fungal growth. It is usually a yellow-brown color on their skin. They can get it anywhere. It can show up on their back, and then when they shed their next time, it looks like a big black spot. That is a good sign that there might be yellow fungus. Let's see. It is associated with stress, usually from improper housing or unsanitary conditions. Your sanitary conditions are going to be your big one. Humidity. You need to really check on that. Make sure you are not getting high humidities in there that will cause fungal growths. It can also cause bacteria and other problems, mold, anything like that inside the enclosure you just really don't want. Let's see. Also during breeding, if they get bite marks or something like that, that is a good spot for fungal growths to seep right in. So if you notice any injuries, toes, breaks in their skin, I would immediately treat that. If it's below their head, you can use Neosporin. It is great. You can put it right on there and then let it soak in a bit. If it's in an area their head can't reach, you can probably let it sit for a little bit before you actually wipe it off, just to make sure some of it gets soaked in there. It is not safe to be ingested, so you want to keep it away from the eyes and mouth and nose. And oh yes, you don't want any pain reliever in your Neosporin, just straight antibiotic ointment. Again, no pain relief. I don't actually know what the pain relief problem is, but I do know don't use it. Yellow fungus can only grow at temperatures below the human body. If you're keeping your tank at the proper heating, you shouldn't see this growing. Yes, is their cool side cooler than the human body? Yes, but if they are basking and they are using that heat and they're keeping their body temperature up, it shouldn't happen. That's why I'm not as worried about this one. Let's see. Some of the signs of it, other signs of it besides the black spots, is, sorry sweetheart, that they will get yellow brown crusties around their mouth, their nose, and around their eyes. So if you have a citrus beardy, make sure you know their markings, as sometimes that does get, for people, they can confuse those markings as yellow fungus if they haven't paid attention to their beardy's markings. The bad thing about yellow fungus disease is if you notice it around the mouth, eyes, and nose, it has most likely become an internal problem. The only way to treat it if it becomes an internal problem is antifungal. If it is just being seen on the body, there is treatment at home you can do. I would recommend still seeing your vet for an antifungal, but this will actually stop it from spreading. And it is actually the same treatment we used on our snake Jackie that has scale rot, and that is iodine. If it's below the head, you can take a Q-tip and straight on, put it right on there. Let it sit. Wipe it off after like an hour, if it even needs to be wiped off, and then add your antibiotic ointment, no pain relief. Let that sit for a bit, and again, this one cannot be ingested, and then make sure you wipe that off. Again, never put this above their head. This is actually, if you dilute it, make it about a yellowish color, it is not harmful. I'm sure it could be just fine like this, but if you're gonna go for the head, I suggest diluting it. You can place it right on there and just let it sit. It's not harmful to them if they ingest it or anything like that. But again, if it's on the head, you probably have internal issues, so see your vet immediately. If it's just on the body, use this treatment to stop the spread, and then get to your vet as soon as you can for that antifungal. But as for yellow fungus, that's about it. So if there's anything else you guys want to learn about bearded dragons or any of the other animals that we have here, let us know. We have got a range of animals we've got ball pythons, Cuban false chameleon, we've got boa constrictor, a Burmese, leopard geckos, and then of course we've got handles here and Jackie. We've got another intake coming in soon, another bearded dragon, so that'll be fun to get to know her. But and just because those are the animals we have doesn't mean it's all the ones we've worked with. We've got experience with a lot. We're not experts, but we're pretty experienced, and we'll do our best to help you guys in any way. Remember, check us out at Bad Wolf Reptile Sanctuary, and thank you for joining our video today. I hope I wasn't as scattered as last time. And said bye, handles. Thank you, everyone.